You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
Welcome to the Hot Options Report, your premier source for insight into the fast-moving options market. Each day, we'll track down the products that are dominating the options chains and impacting your trading account, from Nvidia to VIX and everything in between. If it's lighting up the options tape, then you'll find it on the Hot Options Report.
All right, everybody, that music means we are back. It is time for your Hot Options Report for Friday, February 27th. My name, of course, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Radio Network, your home now for 19 plus years of options goodness. Of course, if you want to check out what's cooking on the pro, you know where to go, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. And if you're listening to this show, you're clearly interested in a little bit of options flow. You should be checking out our friends over there at thehotoptionsreport.com. They've got a lot of great ways to carve up the options market, including a whole bunch of badges and cool, unique scans like this one. Today's scan of the day is their 0DTE trade scan that pulls up any index product that goes up over there on SIBO, where the delta is over 25. So if you don't know what that is, listeners, look up some of our educational content like Options Bootcamp. And then also the premium for the trade is over $50,000. And we got the top 5 here on this list today. Number 5, we're going out to the SPX. Obviously, it's all index products in this scan, listeners. It's the 6820 puts expiring today. In fact, a lot of action on these 6820 puts. We'll come back to them in a second. They went up 200 times this morning for prices around $3.80. Then we go out to the Nasdaq, our lone Nasdaq representative in our top 5 here, with about 70 of the 24,680 puts. A lot of puts lighting it up today. A lot of red on the screen today, listeners. They went up for $8.80. Then we go back to the S&P. This time it's the par calls, the 6,900 calls, listeners. Hope was springing eternal there, perhaps. They went up for $2.75, 214 times today. Then we go back to the 6820 puts. They traded 270 more times for $4.40, and then 147 more times for $4.60, listeners. Again, that's just one of the many hundreds of different scans and badges you can check out for yourselves. TheHotOptionsReport.com is the place to go to kick the tires and light the fires. As we go out to our top 10 today, it was a pretty strong day out there in the options market, listeners. Cost you 673,000 contracts to break into the top 10. And the top of our list, also a banger as well. We'll get there in a second, listeners. First, let's kick it off with our old pal, the Monster, a.k.a. Strategy, giving back some to the market gods after rallying through the middle of this week. Back below the 130 strike, closing 129.5, off $3.90, or almost 3%, putting up 673,000 contracts for the number 10 spot. On your countdown today, listeners, the hot option in the Monster today, 40,000 of the 130s. Average price for these, about 47 cents. And once again, these were looking all right until they weren't. The high today was actually 130.112. Looks like it broke through the 130 strike to the upside a couple of times today. So if you bought these for that average price, you had a few moments in the sun, and you threatened it again at the end of the day before closing 50 cents shy of the strike. So if you rode these to the close and you bought them, not a great trade, but you had opportunities during the day to get out of them, listeners. As we keep climbing to the number 9 spot, I don't know how much opportunity you had to get out of anything in this name, listeners. This is CoreWeave. They came for this one today, listeners, selling off $18.07 or 18.5% to close at $79.56. They actually took it down almost $4 below that intra-session. So a rough day for CoreWeave, putting up 700,000 contracts exactly from the number 9 spot on our countdown today. And the hot option in CoreWeave today, these are not looking great. These are the par calls, 37,000 of the March par calls. So you do have some time with these. That is your lone saving grace, perhaps. They went up 37,000 times today for an average price of $1.80. Obviously, if folks were buying these, not a great trade. Now, this was after the earnings, and this was a strike with a lot of OI, so there's a good chance that paper was probably closing these, listeners. So in which case, someone's maybe deciding to get the heck out of Dodge, take what they had left on this strike, in which case that was $1.80. Wild stuff out here, listeners. As we keep climbing to our number 8 spot, it's our old pal. It's Palantir, listeners. Getting a little bit back today, gaining $1.26 to close at 137.20, putting up 750,000 contracts for the number 8 spot on our countdown today. The hot option in Palantir land, 43, almost 44,000 of the 137s. Average price for these, 62 cents. These are, of course, expiring today, so they went out worth exactly 20 cents. So if you rode them through the close, not a great trade, but looks like paper might have been selling these, in which case, congratulations, you pocketed 42 cents, listeners. Of course, always dangerous. Hopefully you didn't ride a short through the close. Hopefully you closed it before the closing bell. As we keep climbing to the number 7 spot, this is a name that's come under some duress of late. That continues today. This is SoFi. After breaking through the 30 handle not that long ago, they've been clobbering it pretty much ever since, selling off another $1.34 or 7% today to close at $17.76. A heck of a year. Is it a heck of a level for the stock? I guess we'll find out. Putting up 917,000 contracts for the number 7 spot on our countdown today, listeners. And the hot option in SoFi. Looks like hope might be springing eternal. 97,000 of the March 22s. Average price for these, just 12 cents. So if you're a believer in the upside, listeners, maybe you like these. It is a cheap swing of the bat if you are buying these. It looks like paper was. Then again, it is about 4.25 handles out of the money. So SoFi needs to turn it around. But you think this sell-off is overdone? Maybe you like those as a nibble as we keep climbing to the number 6 spot. It's the Amazonians, closing 210 exactly today. So they shrugged off the sell-off today to close up $2.08 or exactly 1%. Putting up 932,000 contracts for the number 6 spot. So again, only at number 6, already closing in on 1 million contracts. So a pretty dense day in the options market. What was the hot option in the Amazonians today? 118,000 of the 210s. Go figure, exactly where we went out, listeners. Average price for these, 24 cents. You know the drill. If you bought those for 24 cents, they went out worthless. If you sold them for 24 cents, they went out worthless, so that was a great trade. Now, you have to be careful when you pin on the exact strike, listeners. And again, if all that is voodoo to you, check out our educational content like Options Bootcamp over there on the network as we keep climbing to the number 5 spot, listeners. It's Mr. Softy. They were not climbing today. They sold off another $9 or 2.25% to close $392.74, putting up 956,000 contracts for the number 5 spot in Microsoft today. And the hot option in Microsoft, 45,000 of the 395 calls. Average price for these, about 95 cents. Obviously, with hindsight, you want to be selling these, and that's what paper was doing, looks like. So congrats to you. You kept your 95 cents if you rode them through the close. As we keep climbing to the number 4 spot, it's the Fruit Company. They came for them today as well, off $8.77 or 3.25% to close 264.18, putting up 1.14 million contracts for the number 4 spot out there today. It looks like Apple's pretty much straight down all session. So a blood red day for the Fruit Company. The hot option out there on a pretty hot day, 95,000 of the 265 puts. These did go out in the money. Paper sold them, looks like, for, or I should say paper traded them for about an average price of 34 cents. So congrats to you if you sold them, because you now own yourself some Apple stock. Hopefully that's what you wanted. If you bought them, you ended up working out pretty well on these, listeners. As we keep climbing to the number 3 spot. Yes, number 3, Tesla, all the way down at number 3, selling off $6.07 or 1.5% to close 402.51. So threatening that par strike. Let's see, how low do we get today? Actually, 398.11. So they did break through the par strike, which is always interesting for Tesla, putting up 2.8 million contracts. So a very active day for Tesla today. Seems like whenever they threaten those round psychological levels, we do see a lot of paper, and that was the case in Tesla today. The hot option on a hot day, 210,000 of the 405s. Average price for these, 98 cents. Obviously, with hindsight, you want to be a seller of these, but these were looking good earlier in the session. The high today was 407.12, so you were at a 2x winner earlier in the session if you bought these for that average price. Obviously, you had to be quick on the trigger finger because that did not last long. And if you rode them through the close and you bought them, unfortunately, not a great trade. As we keep climbing to the number 2 spot in our countdown today, if you bought Netflix stock, that certainly was a great trade. Or if you bought some upside, we were talking about the pars recently. Let's see what's going on out here in Netflix today because the deal is off, listeners. Netflix not buying Warner Brothers Discovery. $31 a share, I think, is what it came out to at the end. That's a juicy price for good old WBD, a company that was flailing around much lower than that before all this deal talk kicked off. So yeah, you could have bought all you wanted back in August for $10 to $11 in WBD. Now, sounds like the going rate is $31. Netflix says that's too rich for our blood. They walk away, but the stockholders like it in Netflix. Stock rallying back, getting back all that premium they would have spent on WBD, up $11.63 or 13.75% to close 96.24. So back threatening that par strike, listeners. And was it a hot day in Netflix today? You know it was, listeners. Putting up nearly 3 million contracts, 2.99 million contracts changing hands out there in good old Netflix today. Yesterday, we were talking about the 85s lighting it up for 63 cents. Those sure as heck look good today if you bought those for 63 cents because the stock, again, threatening the par strike today. And the hot option in good old Netflix today, 114,000 of the 95s. Average price for these, 51 cents. So once again, if you bought those for that average price, you were looking good on these as well. Not quite as good as the trade from yesterday, but still quite the trade nonetheless. And again, we were talking about the 100 calls not too long ago. Those are back in play as well. Wild stuff as we keep climbing to the number 1 strike, listeners. It's our old pal Nvidia. Takes a lot to take the number 1 spot when Tesla and Netflix are both threatening 3 million contracts, but Nvidia did it again today. They were feeling more of the wreckage, more of the downside effects from their earnings earlier this week, selling off another $7.70 or 4.1% to close at 177.19. Again, we were just talking about the Nvidia 200 calls expiring today for over $4 earlier in the week. Now the stock 177.19. It shows you how much the worm can turn during earnings season, listeners, and that led to a lot of paper again in Nvidia. 5.51 million contracts changing hands in Nvidia today. Absolutely wild stuff. And the hot option on a very hot day in Nvidia, 328,000. These are index numbers, listeners. 328,000 of the 180s. Average price for these, 70 cents. You know the drill. If you bought these and rode them through the close, not a great trade. You had some moments, though. Earlier in the session, they got up to 182, almost 182.60. So these were looking pretty good until they weren't, listeners. And so looks like paper, though, might have been selling these, in which case, pretty gutsy trade to step in front of the train and sell the 180s in Nvidia. But you had to sweat a little bit early in the session. But if you did that and you weathered the storm, you ended up pocketing nearly 70 cents if you rode them through the close. So congrats to you. The wild end to a wild week in the options market. Of course, if you missed anything on the network this week, it's all available for you. Yet another reason why you should be subscribed to the full network on wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And of course, check out our friends over there at thehotoptionsreport.com. You can check out the front runner scan, the retail giant scan, the zero DTE scan. Those are just a few of the dozens of badges you can play around with over there. Thehotoptionsreport.com. Have a great weekend. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you back here on Monday for the option block in the morning, followed by the crypto rundown. A lot of action out there in the world of crypto before we wrap up our trading day on Monday. Another episode of the Hot Options Report. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com. or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.